This Week in Baseball Player Profiles as we profile Mark Standiford, former WSU alum and head coach at Tabor College. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Hey, glad to be here.
You played at North High. How was the competition when you played compared to now?
Oh, it's hard to say. I mean, it was very good. And if you look back, and you can just look at guys that have gone on and played at the Division I level. Back when I played all the way through, the mid-'90s to 2000s, there's been quite a few guys. So I think the quality of baseball was very good. I think at North High, too, if I remember right, I think we had 6 or 7 guys off our team my junior year make first team All-City. So that kind of says a little bit about the team I had or played with. So I think it was very good. I think the talent around here now is very good, too. I think it's more spread out. I think that's one reason that you don't see the dominant teams that we maybe had in the past. Because back then there wasn't so many places to play.
Right.
But I think there's great kids now, and there was very good players back then.
Right. And that led you to move on to WSU. What was your experience like at WSU?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, it was obviously a challenge. I played with some outstanding players there, and I played against some very good players as well. So, I got to play for, in my mind, the best coach in college baseball. Obviously, Gene Stevenson. We were part of the building process, I think, to help. When I was there in my first year in 1985, I think they'd been around for 6 or 7 years as well. So, it was fun. I mean, it's something that I will remember. It's something that I was very fortunate to be part of. The teammates, the friendships that we made, probably the most or the best thing, I guess, that we're able to do when I was at Wichita State. But the baseball itself, like I said, we were very competitive, and the rivalries that we had back then too, with the Oklahoma States, the Indiana States, and so forth. That was fun. You miss those. Anybody that's competitive wants to have those type of rivalries.
Right.
And, so that's some of the stuff. But no, it was a great time.
Good. So you mentioned Gene, playing for Gene. What type of coach was Gene when you played for him?
Gene was very demanding. He was a stickler, attention to detail type guy. He was one that would push you to the limits, and he both mentally and physically. In the game of baseball, we all know you have to be mentally tough, and I think that was something that he pushed on everybody. And he's figured if you could handle him, you could handle the adversity you're going to face in the game. So, but again, one of the best coaches, like I said, I've ever played for. Knew the game, in-game coach, unbelievable. It seems like he had a knack, when to hit and run. He could tell what the pitcher was going to throw. Just so many different things. I learned a lot from what he did. Was very loose, the way I like to coach. He, in my mind, he wanted you to be the best, but at the same time, very personal. He was a player's coach. He would let you. We would talk. It wasn't like he put himself above everybody else. But when it came time to play, he expected you to perform. But like I said, he definitely taught me a ton, and he's made me where I am today as far as baseball goes.
All right. And I know for a fact you guys are still friends to this day.
That's right.
Very, it carried further than just baseball.
I look at him as a mentor, a guy that, like I said, has really allowed me to get where I am, like I said, from a baseball standpoint, especially from a coach.
Right. So you guys made it to the College World Series. What was that experience like playing in Omaha?
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's you work so hard to get there, and then when you finally you're able to achieve that, it was definitely well worth the fight, the work that you put in to get to that point. But the atmosphere when you're playing in front of 25, 30,000, you're playing on ESPN, you're playing against the best teams in the country. It's unbelievable. It's something that, like I said, that we hadn't been. In fact, I don't know if it was 82 or 83, the last time that Wichita State had been. It took me all the way to my senior year to get back. And if you remember back then, we had to always go through Oklahoma State.
Right.
And they were very good, obviously. And
they had Incaviglia, I believe, at the time?
Incaviglia was my freshman year. Robin Ventura was there my senior year.
Okay.
Monty Ferris, another very good player. But yeah, to beat them in a regional was unbelievable too. To finally break through, and we were able to do that in '88, which I think helped propel Wichita State on too, to where they went back to the World Series about 5 or 6 more times after us. So,
right.
But it was a great experience, something that obviously I'll never forget, and something that I was very fortunate to be part of.
I know this got brought up on ESPN, I believe, how they put who were the best teams at WSU and best players, and I know you're ranked, top 4, top 5, so some of the top players of all time to come out of WSU. But what people might not know is some of the records that you hold at WSU. What are your hitting records that you hold at WSU?
Well, I think the one that everybody talks about is the home run record. I have the career home run record there, and then I do have the season record too as well. I did both those my senior year. And then the doubles record, I have that. That was an NCAA record for quite a while until it finally got broke. But I would say those are the 3 main ones that I still have. There's other ones that I probably do, but we played a lot of games back then too. So that's
and that was going to lead to my next question.
Do you think it could be broken? Do they play enough games to be able to do it?
Every record can be broken. It's tough, and not because of the talent. There's a ton of talent out there that could do it. It's really the amount of games, the bats that we use these days are not quite what they used to be.
Right.
They're just the pitchers today. I mean, guys are throwing 90 plus all over the place. So I think times have changed a little bit, but it's not because the record can't be broken because of talent. Because like I said, there's some great players out there. I just think it's probably not going to because, and the games part is probably the biggest thing.
Right.
That led you to Team USA. Who were some of the players you played with at Team USA, and what was that experience like?
Well, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, I say awesome. The players themselves playing with us great. Going to Cuba is where we went. It's probably not the best thing because, I mean, I shouldn't say it. I was able to see a country that or an island or whatever that I would never have seen. That said, it was. I think all of us got sick at one time. The food was just okay. But the players I was able to play for, the coaching side, I played for some outstanding coaches. Mark Marcus was the head coach. So Ron Polk was one of the coaches. So there were some outstanding coaches. Robin Ventura was probably the cream of the crop right there. He's the guy that kind of played, was the mainstay. And he played third base. Monty Ferris played short, and I played second. But again, to be able to represent your country is something very special.
Right.
And to be able to do that on the baseball field, and we made it to the finals, which is something that was nice. We played in front of probably 40,000 plus in Havana, and it was an experience. Obviously, I'll never forget either as well. But it was a great honor, and so, like I said, those are probably. Then sure, I would probably say he was probably some guys.
That led you to getting drafted by the Giants. What was that experience like playing in the minors for the San Francisco Giants?
I mean, it's something obviously you strive to get to. And everybody, and obviously, that was one of my goals was to get to that point. But it becomes more of a job at that point. It becomes kind of a numbers game a little bit too, and you have to be in the right situation. I mean, I enjoyed it. I loved every bit of it. And again, I got to play with some very good players there too as well. But just to get to that point, obviously I would like to have gone farther. But that's just, that's baseball. That's the way it is. There comes to a point to where the game stops you, and I can look back and say that I believe I went as far as I could, or as far as my talent would take me.
Right.
And so I was able to get there and play a few years. But the experience itself taught me a lot about the game, and opened my eyes a lot about the game too.
Right.
How it actually works when you start to get paid. And there's so much talent out there. And sometimes you don't understand how much talent there really is if you just say, like here in Wichita. You kind of get confused. But when you start to open it up and see how much talent there really is in this country, there's a lot of good baseball players.
Yes, there truly is. It truly is.
So then you opened up Sluggers 26 years ago. What got you to do that, and how do you feel it's changed over the years?
Oh, it's evolved. There's no doubt about it. What made me do it is obviously I love baseball. I love sports. I wanted to get into coaching. At the time, there was nothing like it in the city, so I thought this would be something new to try. And we have evolved. I mean, we have gone from when we first opened up. We had baseball was a core part of it, and softball. We had batting cages and mainly just soccer, and so we had sporting goods too as well. But then we started to expand, where then we went into hockey, we went into basketball, we went into just about everything. And it's kind of because of the market when you started to change, and every business does that. You're going to evolve a little bit. And then we evolved more into now to where we're at right here as far as the academy goes, to where now we have academies, and part of the evolution of that is because of summer ball, how it changed too. It became more travel. And in fact, it's probably been 15 years ago, I was part of a group that set up some of these tournaments regionally with St. Louis and with Kansas City and with Dallas and that type of stuff. So part of that evolution in the academy ball was because of how the tournament's set up, and we were trying to cater more towards allowing the coaches, the college coaches, to come and see them. But it's ever changing. It's great right now. I mean, you're a big part of that too. You've got it to where it is, and obviously Matt and everybody else involved too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to do nothing but get better. But like I said, I'm very proud of where it's at, and I know it's got a bright future going ahead.
Okay.
Who are some of the biggest names that you coached? Because I know we've had, almost 20 guys get drafted out of this program.
I can't name them all, and I'm not even.
No, but name a couple guys that you coached.
I mean, Logan, obviously, and Norris out of here. I mean, I've got Jacob Webb, who's in the big leagues right now with the Braves. But I'm not even going to start to name because I'll forget somebody.
Right.
And I'll make somebody upset. So let's just put it this way. I've been very, very fortunate
Right.
to coach some great players. And when I say players, they're also great kids and great people.
Yes.
And that's probably the most important thing. That's the biggest satisfaction I get. And when some of them call me up or they see me, it's always nice to see some old players. But like I said, I have been very, very fortunate to be able just to be involved in their lives too as well.
Well, I did an interview with the class of 17 here recently, which is one of the biggest classes we ever had, graduate out of here. And I had 3 of the players in here, and they were all on the all-decade team that got put together. And I explained to them, I really felt like the 2000-2010 all-decade team is so much stronger than the 2011-2020 all-decade team. They beg to differ. What do you think?
I might plead the fifth on that one. I'd say the 2000 to 2010 is very good.
Yes.
But I don't want to slide anybody on the 2010 to 2020.
Oh, they said they would compete. They would work them.
They would compete. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
They would compete. It'd be a very good game. I think the depth may be a little bit more the 2000, 2010.
Oh, I know.
So
There's a lot of names.
I think that that would probably, if I had to actually pick, would probably be the best. But again, that's not slighting anybody.
Right. No. So
now you coach at Tabor. And I know the first year you coached Tabor, it was, I hate to say it this way, god awful. It was bad situation you walked into. Mm-hmm. But you have turned them around. You've been to the World Series a couple times. You're a perennial top 20 team in the nation. How did you do that? How did you start doing it? How did you make them relevant?
I think first of all, I've had some very good coaches that have helped. And you need that. You need guys around you that are going to be able to help support you, and obviously have the same mindset and the same goals.
Right.
Also, I mean, it goes back to we've had some outstanding players come through, and obviously we have to get them there. And we're selling something that's not sellable at the time. I mean, we're trying to get to where we're promising, hey, we're going to get to the World Series, but yet it's never happened before.
Right.
So it wasn't easy to do that, but I think we were able to do that, and we were able to have some very good players come in early, which helped set the tone a little bit. The biggest thing I found that I had to change was the culture.
Yeah.
I needed to find that, hey, the expectation is to go out there and win and compete. And once that's established, then it becomes second nature. Now we're going to do it. That's our goal. Then the goals start to be risen to where, all right, we want to make the conference tournament, or we're going to win our conference, or now obviously get to the World Series. And for the last 10 years at Tabor, we've been able to either finish first or second in our conference for 10 years straight, which I think says a lot about where we're at as a program, and obviously a lot about the players that have come through, but the expectations. Mm-hmm. So we can now tell that to a recruit coming and say, hey, this is what players have done before. This is what we expect to be every year. And obviously the goal is to get to the World Series and get to Lewiston, Idaho. And so that's been established. It's made it a lot easier. We're able to get some very good players. Obviously having one of our players in the big leagues is helpful. The talent, the level of baseball that we play, the players' talent, I should say, in my mind, is very, very good. And 20 years ago, I'd say no, it wasn't when I played. But there are so many players now that when we go out to compete, we're competing against some outstanding players and outstanding teams. So it's a high quality baseball. But to answer your question about Tabor, the culture was the main thing I needed to change, the mindset there.
Okay. How's your team going to do this year? What are your expectations this year?
Well, basically what I just said. I mean, we want to compete for a conference championship, obviously. That's something that we strive to do. That's our number one goal. We want to get to the regional, which would be our number 2, and win, and then get to the World Series. And you can't do one before the other. So we need to go out and establish ourselves early. But I think we got a chance to be very good. I mean, we have some players, a lot of guys coming back that actually are classified as juniors, but yet we were able now to have them now for 2 falls and 20-plus games in the spring. So now they know the system. They know what we expect from them. They're more mature. They've gotten stronger now. So I think we have a chance. But again, that's every program too in America has had that luxury as well. So, but I think our pitching staff is deeper this year than it was last. And like I said, I think our position players are able to get stronger. And I'm ready to play. I'm looking forward to having a pretty good year.
Good. So how did COVID affect everything overall in general with colleges, do you feel?
Well, the number one effect I think it had, it hurt a lot of seniors in high school because there's so many players now in the system, and the opportunity to play is much more difficult. From a baseball standpoint, I think it's going to elevate it a little bit because there's a lot of good players.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the Division I level, towards a lot of players that would have signed and moved on as juniors now are back as seniors. You look at the junior college level to where a lot of those sophomores now that graduated came back for a 3rd year. So you've got a very good talent pool there. And then look at us where we've got a lot of players that would have graduated. I have 6 seniors that were done that came back now are playing and now trying to get their masters. So there's more talent because of just they came back. And that could happen again too this year very easily. So the quality is going to be there. There's no doubt about it. And so COVID has made that better, obviously, but it has hurt in my mind, and it's the worst part of it. It's made it much more difficult for now players coming out of high school to get into the system, and it's made it more important now for them to really focus on little things to help separate them from other players, so that they can get that opportunity to play at the next level.
So, speaking of recruiting, what type of player, when you go out and recruit, do you look for?
Well, there's certain givens that if you don't have, you got to be a self-motivated player. I don't want to have to be a cheerleader to coaches. So if you're self-motivated, that's something that's very important. Grades, obviously, as any coach is going to say, you need to do well in the classroom. As far as at our level now, we have to take the best available a lot. And I can't go out there and handpick what I need. So I want an athlete, obviously. I want somebody that projects. That if I look at him, especially if he's a high school kid, all right, yeah, he's probably 160, 150 right now, but does he project? And it doesn't have to be big. If I did that, I'd be the wrong person to want somebody to be tall, but I do want somebody to be able to project, to be strong, and be able to be strong enough to play the game. And I want somebody that understands the type of player that they are and tries to maximize their strengths.
Right.
And then I, as a coach, can figure that out and put them in the system that's going to help them succeed. So for me to sit there and say, I want this type of player, yeah, I like a guy that can run. There's no doubt about it. I like a guy that can hit with power. Okay, I like a guy that can handle the bat. I want a good teammate. Okay, I want a guy that makes everybody else around him better. I mean, those are all things that I like to have. We can't all get them, but at the same time, if we can get to a point where a player that's self-motivated is a good teammate, okay, and again knows what his strengths are to play there. Now it gives me a tool that I can fit into a lineup, to a team to make better.
Okay. What advice do you have for high school kids that are in the class of 21 coming into college? What should they do to get prepared?
Take care of the grades. I mean, that's something that's very important. They're going to have to probably reevaluate a little bit of expectations. The offers, and I think we've talked about it too. But, you're not going to get maybe the 5 or 6 because they're not out there.
Right.
But maybe you may be down to a 1 or 2 offer type deal. So That may be where you're at. You need to figure out too, and I know it's tough to do, but you need to try to find out, what do I want to do as far as, what am I going to get out of school? What do I want to major in? Do I have an idea? And if I do, I need to target that school. For instance, if somebody comes to me and says, I want to be pre-med, you just elevated yourself, because that's just something that we do very well.
Right.
And I know if you're going to be pre-med, you're going to be a pretty darn good student. And you're going to be motivated in the classroom. That's something that's very important too. So all those factor in and help to move you ahead of certain players if you can figure that out. As far as the baseball part, everything that is done here at 316 Sluggers is going to help them get better. You know, everything. And if they can learn to practice correctly, to come in and try to improve their skills as much as they possibly can, and speed and strength. And it's something else too that you got to offer here that's it's very good. So that's something I would focus on. That I said that's the big separator really. If you got a kid in that may be the greatest player ever, and he's competing against a guy that's 50 pounds heavier and stronger, it's probably going to win out in college baseball. So that's something I would focus on too, as well as trying to get faster, trying to get stronger. But also when you come in, and you know, I help a little bit with hitting, but I see if you can come in and have a focus to get better, and really the opportunity you have here is phenomenal. I mean, the things that you can do where you can hit on your own, you take your own balls, you can do so much things. The bullpens, do your weighted balls if they do that, all kinds of different things. Focus on that, but you're going to have to be driven, because the competition for these two classes is probably the greatest it's ever been.
Right.
So speaking of that, you know, the JUCO's giving everybody another year. What could you say for the 22s? I know it's very similar, but in my opinion, it's going to actually be a little bit tougher, because there's going to be more kids returning back to JUCO's as a possibility. What do you suggest for them to do?
Well, kind of what I said. Probably patience is going to be something they're going to have too as well. It may be a case where they may have to accept a red shirt somewhere just because of the numbers. So it's and again, it's hard for me to just look in the future and say that's going that's going to happen. There may be some guys that fall out. There comes a point to where you don't want to pay to play. Does that make sense?
Right.
You're paying for an education. Playing is part of the luxury that you get, and that can help pay for that education.
Right.
But you need to obviously understand that I want to get my degree. If there's a chance that I can go on and get my master's, that's something too that I would start to think about. If I'm going to be a business major, all right, where can I go on and get my master's now and still play? To where now I'll be there 6 years or 5 years or whatever it takes, but I can still play. Understand that I may have to take a redshirt year just because of the sheer numbers I'm at, but I can still get that paid for. And that's something too that we've sold to certain players, that hey, you can come in, you can get your business degree, and then all of a sudden you have 2 years left or a year left to play, and I can get your MBA. I think Zach's in that same process right now too, which is something that they can start to figure out right now, or if they're going to go into another major too as well. So,
Right.
But that's something they need to think about. But they do need to understand too that there's just a lot of players getting squashed into it. They're trying to vie for that playing time, that scholarship. So it's going to be kind of pretty difficult.
Right.
So younger kids, and I'm talking about youth moving into high school, what advice would you have for them to start preparing? I know you got 4 or 5 years before you get, for the college level, but what could they do to enhance to get better a little sooner, faster, stronger, things like that?
Well, number one thing I would do is they need to understand that they can't take off a year class-wise. The thing that hurts a lot of guys is their freshman, sophomore year, they just blow it off in high school.
Right.
Then all of a sudden they figure out, wait a minute, I need a 3.5 would help me do this, or I need a 21 or 23 ACT, and they're not prepared to get that because the first 2 years they just took off. So it needs to be emphasized that they need to make sure they take that seriously, and that way when they get to that point, that academic money is going to be there, because you can't get that GPA back up if you only got a year left.
Right.
So that's something that they need to do. The strength part of it is something too. They need to be open and to playing. I know if at a high school level, you just coach wherever he tells you to go, you play it, and you become the best player you can at that position, whatever it may be, and you just want to get on the field.
Right.
That's all you want to do. Doesn't matter where or what position it is. So you need to be open-minded. And that's going to make you better too once you get to college, because if you come in and back when I played, we had a guy named Pat Mears come in. He was a pretty darn good shortstop.
Pat Mears, yeah.
Okay, played in the big leagues. He was a center fielder because he was such a good athlete as freshman. I mean, when he came, he played shortstop, but he wanted to get on the field, so he played center field. So he's able to adapt. Is what I'm getting at. So I would tell the players coming in to the high school, hey, I'm going to play wherever I can play and do whatever I can to play. And that may be, I may run, okay? I may be a courtesy runner or a pinch runner, but I'm going to be the best pinch runner or courtesy runner I can be, because that's going to open up the next door, okay? They just can't expect to get everything at once. And the more you help that coach or make that coach want to play you, the better you're going to be. So I would say that would be the things that I would focus on.
So now here, like you mentioned up 316 and Sluggers merged together. What are your expectations of that program now for us merging together?
Oh, I think that it's going to get better, obviously, with time. I think the quality of coaches that have been brought together now are outstanding. I think Matt is very motivated, as well as you, very motivated to keep pushing, and it's going to get better. It's going to be better than it was. I think that the players that are coming in now, the pool is going to be probably a little better because there's more players. I think the teaching part of it, and you guys have already made changes that I think are outstanding as far as different ways, that you're teaching guys or you're getting them to do different clinics you're doing, like the
Father-son camp
is outstanding. That's something I never even thought about. So I think it's going to be great. I think, like I said, anytime you can get the best coaches, in my mind, or some of them, there's other ones too. I don't leave out other guys, because there's other very good coaches that aren't part of Sluggers, or 316. But that said, the number that are here are outstanding,
right?
And the quality of here are outstanding, and all of them have the same goal. And winning is part of it. Learning to compete is part of it. There's no doubt. You need to learn to compete, and you need to learn to win. Those are two things that when you go to college that I want guys that want to win.
Right.
Okay? But you also have to learn how to get better, and you have to teach. And so the guys here know how to teach, in my mind, are very good teachers. And so that's going to make, like I said, it's going to make it even better too as well.
Well, I can tell you this, you've been a mentor to a lot of people. You're my mentor when it comes especially to the baseball side of it and coaching, and I go to you for a lot of advice and stuff like that. Just knowing that, I know for me, I hope one day that former players come back, hey, thank you for everything that you've done for me, things like that. How does that make you feel, knowing that you've been a mentor to so many people?
Well, it's the best, to be honest with you. It makes all the hard work worth it, I guess. And I tell all my guys too, when you're playing at the collegiate level, playing at Tabor, you're not going to remember the double you hit or the home run you might have hit here or the strikeouts you got. You're going to remember the teammates you have, the friendships you've established, the times you had off the field, the memories when you guys get together 10 years from now. Okay, those are what's going to come up. You guys aren't going to sit around and talk about the double he hit or whatever. You're going to talk about things that you became because of the friendships you became. And that's the same thing when guys come back. It means the world to me. It really does. And I think every coach would say that. And so just to be able to hopefully make somebody a better person, make their life better, maybe help improve in baseball as well. Mm-hmm. Those are all positive things. And like I said, I think every coach, every teacher, every mentor, and it doesn't even mean baseball, that's their hope,
right?
That they can have guys come back and at least be able to have some type of positive impact in their life.
All right. Well, I know you had a special bond with the 2017 class because that team was the youngest team to compete in the NBC. Like I said, I had a couple of those guys on earlier in the show. They couldn't thank you enough, I could tell you that, for everything you've done for them, and they're still playing. I can't thank you enough for what you've done for my kids. You've been a positive role model and a positive influence, not on them, but also every kid has pretty much been through this facility. So I do appreciate that. So a few more questions here. Outside of baseball, what are your hobbies?
What are my hobbies? I love to hunt, love to fish. Those are the two main things. The fishing part now, since I'm not quite as much involved here, is going to open up a little bit, which is nice in the summertime. Play golf. I would say those are the three main things I do.
Right.
I like to be the best I can at them too. So my hobbies, I can't expand too many and have too many of them. I don't want to be average in anything I do.
Right.
So and my golf game has suffered a little bit, but I would say those are the three things that I do most.
So who got the biggest buck this year, you or Blake?
Blake did. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard all about it.
Yeah.
All right, last question here. Who was your favorite Major League Baseball player?
Growing up,
Yep.
man, when I was younger, it was Johnny Bench, because I was catcher. And, the big red machine, I mean, heck,
Right.
I mean, it was something you watched. It was must-see TV on Saturday, or, well, the name of this show was This Week in Baseball.
Yep.
If you remember, people don't understand we had 3 channels back then. But that came on, and that's how you figured out how your teams did.
Yeah.
You got to see that. And then when the Braves went on TBS or TNT or whatever it was, then they became everybody's team too, as long as the Cubs. But Johnny Bench was big George Brett fan too. I mean, he just plays the game the way it's supposed to be played. Nolan Ryan, another guy, I wasn't a pitcher, but that guy, I mean, he was must see when he's on the mound. You got to watch him. I mean, there's certain guys when they play, you got to watch them, and those are guys. But obviously the Cincinnati Reds were teams that I watched. And they were the A's back then too. Had some great players, and they had characters too.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a different era when there wasn't games on every day, and it was a big deal to watch that. But I would probably say those two guys.
Okay.
Well, Mark, I thank you for everything that you've done. You've been a great role model to so many people, including myself, great mentor. I appreciate you coming on the show, taking some time, talking some baseball. Hopefully everybody paid attention to some of the things that he added in there about, looking for what colleges to go to and how to accept your roles on your teams and things like that. So again, thank you for coming in. I do appreciate that.
I would say the process, to enjoy the process when you're getting recruited. It's once in a lifetime deal. It's something you don't want to stress over, but you want to be smart and have attention to detail about it, and make sure wherever you try to go, it's a perfect fit, both academically and on the field. So, but do enjoy it. It's something that, like I said, it's once in a lifetime. So,
Right.
And a lot of people, thread about it and they say, "All right, what am I going to do?" But just enjoy it.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate it, Mark. I really do. Thank you. And that concludes This Week in Baseball Player Profiles. I want to thank 316 Baseball for being our sponsor of today's show, and thank Brandon Green, production company. I appreciate it. Thank you.